brand new episode of The Witching Hour. I am Perri Nemroff, and this is Haleigh Fouch.
Welcome back.
Sup? How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Oh my God, welcome back. Yeah. It's incredible how the days just fly by. Yes. As sad as I was to miss an episode of The Witching Hour, it looks like you were in good company, and that Cabo trip was incredible.
Good.
I think... I don't know if a travel assignment for work is ever going to top bungee jumping. I feel like every single junket I do and every single any kind of press opportunity I do has to have bungee jumping if it's going to compete with the Jumanji, the next level jump. Yeah.
Mine wouldn't be that,
Yeah.
but I understand that feeling. Like when we did the 19 hours in Bangor trip, that was kind of one where I was like, well, if you don't have Stephen King surprises at the end, then kind of why are you even trying?
That's the downside of having such like an incredible
luxuries.
Such luxuries, but I don't know, something that's like crazy high on the bucket list, and then it happens, and it's I don't know.
Yeah.
I would go bungee jumping every single junket if they had it.
That's a choice.
It's a choice not many on this trip made.
No, I mean, even just if you were to do bungee jumping on every single trip, you know me, I'm not an optimist like you. I'm like, do you know how much that increases your odds of dying if you bungee jump that often?
I don't know. So does getting in a car every day.
Something I also don't do. I don't even like to leave the house, Perri.
You do get in a car,
Not
though.
every day.
Not every day, no.
Ideally, one day a week.
Do you feel more comfortable with someone else being in control of that car, or
100%.
you?
No, absolutely someone else. But that's because I know I'm a very bad driver.
Okay.
And it's not in my skill set. I can't even walk without hurting myself.
I'm the opposite with the car thing, but I do walk and hurt myself. So we're right in line on that.
It's sort of like I wouldn't do my own surgery because I know I'm not qualified.
I wouldn't go as far to say I wouldn't do my own surgery, but I think most things in my life come with the mentality of if you want it done right, do it yourself.
Oh, that's just like scientifically wrong. If you want something done right, go to an expert.
Well, go to an yeah. Well, I mean, expertise is something like if you have to go to school to become a doctor, that's something different. I'm not saying I'm going to go and say screw all my doctor appointments. I'm going to take care of myself, but with other things in life, little things.
Even maybe I'm being querulous, but even baking a pie, mine wouldn't be as good as if I went to a professional baker.
No, that's fair. I think that mentality only applies to things that I know I'm fairly good at. It's like if it was something like tech-wise in the apartment where something broke.
Yeah.
It's like I would just fix it myself. I wouldn't call someone to fix it for me.
Yeah, I suppose it depends on what it was.
Yeah. I mean, baking, fuck that. No.
I'm a pretty good baker, but I know that other people do it better.
So I'm a pretty good instructions follower. So I feel like if I was following a very specific recipe, I could probably crush that cake. Mm-hmm. It's just the fact that I have no desire to bake a cake to begin with.
And don't do it.
No, I'm not going to. Are you going to make anything for Thanksgiving?
I don't know. I usually kind of go all out, but I'm not sure this year.
Go all out? How so? You make a full Thanksgiving spread?
Yeah.
That's very impressive.
I enjoy it.
My parents ordered in our bring-in spread 2 weeks ago. Nice. No one in my family cooks. It's not just me. None of us do. Do you do Black Friday shopping?
No, never. No.
I had a feeling you wouldn't. No. What about Cyber Monday?
It happens, but I prefer not to.
Okay.
It's all a con, really, unless it was something you were going to buy anyway. Then you're actually wasting money.
Maybe, yes, that makes sense. But I think what I do is not part of the con circuit, if you know what I'm saying. So my dad and my sister, every single Friday after Thanksgiving, they would get up at 5:30 in the morning and go to the mall. And I never, I'm not getting up that early to do that. But then my local mall started opening Thursday night. And this is a couple of years ago at this point. So ever since that happened, after Thanksgiving dinner, I will go with them to the mall and buy some stuff. And, it's not like I walk in with a list of things that I've been thinking about all year, but we'll go into American Eagle and I'll buy a couple fresh pairs of jeans. But then I never buy jeans all year.
Sure, that makes sense. Yeah. That's if you're going to buy it anyway, then it's a good idea.
Exactly.
If I use one specific sunscreen every day of my life, I know that I need to restock. I will buy that on Cyber Monday because it'll be cheaper than any other day of the year. In theory, that's another thing though.
I know.
Like now the sales actually at other times a year can be better than
I don't entirely, trust that mentality anymore either.
It's all a con.
I know.
Everything's a con.
It's okay. You just got to figure out how to navigate the cons.
Yes. But I will be purchasing some sunscreen.
So
that's pretty exciting.
You know what my biggest Black Friday nightmare is? So for whatever reason, I'm sorry, Lonnie, but every single Black Friday, Lonnie needs a new winter coat. And that's always the worst experience shopping. She'll always go into a department store that is freaking suffocating with it. Cause like, I really do think that the crowds are less Thursday night than they are on Friday, but not in the damn coat section of the department store. And she has to look at a coat for over an hour. It's incredible.
No, I don't want any part of that.
I don't get
Carrie.
it.
I don't want any part of that.
No, neither do I. I feel like this year, because usually I'm a sucker about it and I'll go, and the coats are always in the basement, which means not only do I have to suffer through all this, but I don't even have cell service for it.
No.
I think I'm just going to find like I feel like I'm like the old man in this situation. I'm going to find a comfy couch upstairs and I'm going to sit there until she's done.
Classic move.
Yeah.
Classic move. There's a reason why they're old men doing that all the time, because it's wise. And
I'm like, seriously, I'm like almost like getting nauseous just at the thought of being in the coat section with her on Thursday night.
I'm getting nauseous just
I'm sorry
hearing about it.
I'm sorry. All right, let's move into some horror movie news. That's how we're going to start our show here today. So we have an interesting lineup for you. We're going to talk about some of the latest news stories out there. We're going to talk about something that might be available on digital this holiday. And we're also going to review the new show, the new Apple TV Plus show, Servant. We're going to split that up because on the 26th, right? I said the right day? We're recording on the 26th. On the 28th, you will have the ability to watch the first 3 episodes of the show. So what we're going to do is we're going to kick it off with a non-spoiler review for anybody who wants to know if the show is worth their while. And then if you have watched it, we are going to shift into spoilers, which gives everybody who hasn't seen it an easy out at the end of the episode. But you are in the clear right now. First thing we want to talk about is this the Jamie Lee Curtis quotes. Do you want to introduce that? Because I know you have some feels about this. I have them handy here.
Yeah, I'm like, what? You don't throw that on me.
So, okay. So here's what went down. I'm looking at Dread Central in case I read anything from their piece like this. During a recent appearance on Cinema Blend's Real Blend podcast, Jamie Lee Curtis said, "I'm not demanding children or saying they can't handle violence, but it's the truth. When I go out to talk about Halloween, even when I was doing book tours for books for children, I would have parents come. They will stand there with their 5-year-old kid and say to me, 'My Bobby loves Halloween, don't you, Bobby?'" She added, "And I look at them and I have the meanest JLC, are you out of your fucking mind look of you are the worst human being on the planet that you would show your child Halloween. I have kind of a strong opinion, as you can tell, about when is correct and incorrect to expose a child to that stuff." So how do you feel about those quotes?
I actually maybe don't have the hot take you think I do.
Oh, you seemed eager to talk about this one.
Well, I think that 5 is probably too young. That's quite young. My best friend's son is 5 and he's scared of just scary pictures, you know? But at the same time, he loves spooky, scary things as long as they're slightly age appropriate. He watches Scooby-Doo stuff nonstop. He loves the Troll Hunters show, which is
Troll Hunters is great.
Surprisingly scary at points.
It can be.
And he loved that when he was like 3. I was impressed with I was like, you're a little badass, dude. But you know, I wouldn't show that kid a slasher movie. That said, every kid has a different limit. My takes get more hot when we get into like 12-year-old range. That's when I'm like, watch whatever you want as long as you can handle it. Because that's when I started watching whatever the hell I want. And I was totally fine. I was like I didn't have nightmares. I wasn't messed up from it. It was like, I don't know. But also it depends on the kid. Like I got exposed to death really young. So like I wasn't afraid of fake things on screen as much as I was real life stuff. And
that's true.
I do remember seeing, you know, sometimes things are too young. I went to a sleepover when I was probably like 9 or 8 or something, and I saw the third Nightmare on Elm Street movie, which is now one of my favorites, but it like destroyed me for a year. Like that I had nightmares over because I had not had my real life experiences yet, and I was quite young, and my imagination did run very wild.
I had some nightmares, I guess, as a kid, and like certain things that I maybe thought about, but I was never, like, even watching horror movies way too young, I was never wrecked by any of them. Like, none ever really kept me up at night to the point that it became a problem. I mean, 5 also does sound ridiculous for Halloween, but
that's real young.
And again, I'll preface this with what I always say, like, do not trust me with your child and what they should be watching. I am the worst judge of something like that. All I can speak to is my own experiences. And you know, I saw, my mom took me to see Scream in the theater, and I was way too young to be in that theater, but that movie was a big deal to me. And it wasn't just a matter of like, oh my God, look at this slasher and what he's doing on screen. It was more so the fact that that's kind of what turned me into a horror movie lover. I just, like, I loved the genre. That was the movie that kind of paved the way to so many classics. And, you know, not just the thrill of being in a movie theater, seeing a movie that I shouldn't have been seeing that age, but more an excitement about what you can accomplish in that genre. I think that's where it all started for me. So I kind of appreciate the fact that she took me to see it at that age, because that was a very formative time for me as far as growing into the movie lover I would become. And when I think about the movies that I saw around that time in my life, a good deal of them still to this day are in my favorites of all time.
Yeah, same. I mean, I guess I always think we were older when that came out than we really were.
We were not. We were not.
But we weren't 5.
I was single digits at that point.
Were you? Do I have your birth year wrong?
Possibly. I definitely was, though.
But yeah, I don't know. Like, I saw that the year it came out, and I was obsessed with it. Me and my cousin memorized the whole movie, watching it over and over and over again, like literally just drove my father insane. And I didn't have any nightmares from that or anything. I think the stuff that did give me nightmares was more fantastical. Like, I don't know.
Wait, do you have any examples? Now I'm curious.
Well, yeah, like Nightmare on Elm Street.
Oh, okay.
So like, Freddy Krueger could do anything, right? Because he's in your mind.
Yes, he can.
So that got in my head, I think, more than like some teenagers stabbing people.
Okay.
And like I watched, yeah, we've talked about this a little bit. I watched I Know What You Can Do.
Yeah.
I Know What You Can Do last summer.
That's some sort of like weird spin-off there.
Maybe today's today. I just hang it up. I don't know.
It's like a twist on the genre where it's like someone would go up to the killer and be like, I know you can do this, but should you do this?
Well, I appreciate the sort of like time travel required for that sentence. I know what you can do last summer. Oh, tell me more. But like that didn't bother me. I watched that with my dad, like just hanging out.
My mom took a group of my friends to see that.
Yeah,
she was the best. And
my dad was not cool like that.
Once I got into it, it's like the fact that she indulged me. I was like a kid in a candy shop whenever she would take me to see a horror movie.
But last time we talked about this, you were the one who was more in line with the idea that you need to protect children. So I'm a little confused.
Was I really?
Yeah. Like you thought that Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark was too intense for PG-13.
Well, I mean, not necessarily advocating for protection, because I can't wait. Like, my niece is not even a year old, and I'm already, she's out of my lap and watch Final Destination. I've been told that they can't see specifics, though. It's more like colors on the screen, so it doesn't make a difference now. But not necessarily seeing that movie and advocating for protection and saying, like, a parent shouldn't see that. But I do think if, like you have a sensitive child, it's worth a fair warning that there's some fairly eerie imagery in that one, or at least it went to more intense places than I was anticipating. Mm-hmm. So just in case anybody is walking into it with that same mentality, they don't want to be surprised.
I see.
Yeah.
I see. I wasn't, because like for me, PG-13 is like that's exactly right.
Yeah.
Me. If I was 13, that movie would not have affected me at all.
I have a very warped sense of what is okay for a 13-year-old because, like, again, I was watching these movies from a very, very young age. And, even my little cousins, they're not that age yet. They're 9 and 7. So it's like that's, in my personal life, at least, that's my best way to gauge what's okay for a tiny child is watching them and how they react to certain things. So I don't know. Basically, this is not this is not podcast, review recommendations for children. We're doing our best.
I would be the last person to ask for that information.
Yes. As would
say
I.
Hello for
as
the
would
chills. No, I mean, I think that she's being a bit extreme in the you're the worst fucking person in the world or whatever. But also 5 is really young. I won't lie. That's super duper young.
Yeah.
When I think about Ripley, who is 5 right now, I wish I hadn't said his name on air, but it just I would never show him something like that because he would freak out.
Okay.
And he'll go around going, I love scary. And he does. And when he saw my little Pennywise doll that I had bought on Halloween, that's like a silly little thing, he was so excited about it because it was a scary clown and he loves scary. And we had to explain to him that he was not eating a chocolate bar. He was eating a human arm. And he was like, why? Because he's in that phase. And you're all right. He's a space clown who eats people? Why? Does they taste good to him? Why?
Oh, I can't wait to have these conversations.
Yeah, they're really fun and tiring. And also you were like, wow, I need to be a more creative human. Yeah. I can't answer that question. But I don't know. I still, as much as he was excited to talk about a space clown that eats people, I would never show him it. Totally different.
Will you eventually show him killer clowns from outer space?
Yeah, but not
Sounds
while
like
he's
that's
5.
that's a subgenre.
I think all spooky things are a subgenre.
Space clowns.
Why
don't we have more space clowns?
Do you think that they just got
why isn't
claimed?
There should be a movie that's flat out just called Space Clowns. I think that's a really easy sell.
Probably.
Yeah. I also think that I'm curious to actually listen to the full episode and hear her tone as she says this, because it sounds like, I think she very much believes in what she's saying, but I imagine it's said in a joking fashion, you're out of your fucking mind type thing. But
I agree.
I also need to listen to this episode because I think the Real Blend podcast does some very good, insightful interviews. So they're worth listening to in full if you haven't checked them out.
I have not.
Any more thoughts on babies watching horror movies, or should we move on to Flanagan?
I guess just want to reiterate, they're your kids. Raise them appropriately to your values. Don't listen to us. Don't listen to Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah.
Don't be abusive if your values are abusive, but they're your kids. Take care of them in the way that feels good to you as a parent.
Yep.
And again, if that's abuse, then you suck, and that's not what I'm talking about. So don't get carried away, internet.
I think that was a good conclusion there. All right. So this next story we're going to talk about here is a Mike Flanagan story, and I like this story because apparently he has a pitch for a new Nightmare on Elm Street movie, which I think is inevitable. So this report, I believe, did I say my last one came from Dread Central? I think this one also is Dread Central. Yes, it is. All right. Yeah. So Dr. Sleep, Haunting of Hill House director Mike Flanagan says he has a pitch he'd like to present for this. He tweeted, put me in, coach. I've got a pitch. So I guess someone had asked him about Nightmare on Elm Street or something.
Oh, no.
To that
effect.
This is,
I know what this is. This isn't a Dread Central story. This is just Mike Flanagan.
Yeah, on Twitter. I'm just because I'm reading from their article. I don't want anyone to get the impression that, these are my words.
It wasn't that someone, as far as I recall, but it wasn't that someone asked him. It's that he saw a link to a Bloody Disgusting article and then replied to it and said, put me in, coach. I would.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, that there's no context here. Well, I'm happy he's got a pitch. Yeah. I think he would be great to direct. I think he would be great to direct anything at this point. I think he is shown, obviously I have Mike Flanagan films that I like more than others, but I think pretty much every single thing I've seen from him is at a certain level, if not above. And he has proven time and time again, he is an extremely capable director. I'm very much attached to that franchise, and I wouldn't mind having it in his hands.
Yeah, I'm of two minds about it because I think he's really talented and I think he's really heartfelt and passionate and can be quite spectacular. But what I've always enjoyed with him are not necessarily the tones or imagery or themes that I personally love in the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, which is that they're sort of crass and occasionally cruel and really goofy and strange and surreal. And I find that he does his best work with quite serious material. So I find it an interesting mix, and not to say that I wouldn't want to see it, but it doesn't, like, in my mind, I can't immediately see how that works.
Do examples come to mind of material he's worked with that is more in line with Nightmare? Like, even if they're just parts of a whole? Like, where he's gone into sillier territory like that?
Silly, no. I suppose he played with Dreams and Before I Wake.
Yeah.
But his movies have always been pretty serious, rooted in trauma and looking to explore pretty heavy issues.
It's true, and I think he's very good at that, but the fact that I've never seen him do otherwise makes me even more curious to see what he'd be able to do with this.
Yeah. Again, it's not that I don't want to see it, it's just that I don't immediately see it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't, when he says that, I don't go, that's the perfect fit. But I would love to see him try to flex different filmmaking muscles.
Do you have anyone that you think is the perfect fit?
That's tough. Who has that sort of goofy sense of humor?
So this is the opposite of that, but like I'm very into right now putting Ari Aster's name on everything. But it's like, could you imagine how fucked up an Ari Aster directed Nightmare on Elm Street would be?
I would love to.
I think I would love that too.
I love both of Ari Aster's films, and
or Robert Eggers.
I think that I think that Midsommar showed a really keen sense of humor that could work. I
don't really look at that as Nightmare on Elm Street humor, but I would like to see the two merge together.
I mean, if you look at Will Poulter's character, there's some pretty juvenile humor in there.
That's fair.
And a lot of the Nightmare humor is pretty juvenile.
It is.
That's really funny. I never would have pulled that, but now I'm kind of obsessed with it. I also like just the idea of what he would visually do with it is quite something.
That's something that really appeals to me.
Oh, gosh. And, you know, it's probably just because we were like just discussing Godzilla, but I feel like Adam Wingard has that right sense of humor and right sense of kind of twisted.
Great call, too. You know, we see that on display big time in something like You're Next, and even The Guest is pretty cheeky.
Yeah, it's so cheeky. That's actually what I was thinking of. I just love The Guest, and since it was just Halloween season, I of course watched it a couple times because it's one of my favorite background watches of the season.
The Guest is great.
What? I mean, I feel like the sort of crowd-pleasing guaranteed success would be James Wan.
Yeah.
He's sort of like the ideal match given his history with the studio, and assuming that it ends up back at New Line, which would be crazy if it didn't, considering they're the house that Freddie built. Mm-hmm. But that's 2019 rights.
Or Muschietti. I mean, it seems like he is off to other things, so I don't think he would have the time for this right now. But, you know, the leap from Pennywise to Freddy isn't very difficult to make in my mind, so he seems suited for it.
I know I said this to you. I may have even said it on the podcast. I found Pennywise pretty Kruger-y in the last film.
Yeah.
In his sort of delight he was taking in everything. And goofiness, a bit of goofiness to him that wasn't quite there last time.
I do hope that if they do push go on another Nightmare movie, because like usually I'm sitting here advocating for a new voice, like an up and comer, give them an opportunity. I think I'm so sensitive about this brand that I would like to have it, you know, rooted in a filmography that I'm very confident in. So I hope whoever they do pick to direct this has proven themselves time and time again.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I get that. And I'm very attached to it. It's one of my favorite all-time horror titles. I just like, horror is sort of one of those number one homes to those up-and-comers who come out of nowhere with something that blows your mind. Like an Ari Aster or a Robert Eggers, you know.
Original works.
Sure, that's true. They don't tend to hand franchise keys to newcomers.
Yeah.
But I'm just, you know, I'm always open to that. Who directed?
What about Chris Landon?
Oh, that could be fun.
That could be fun.
That could be really fun.
Yeah.
That's sweet. I like that. Also, what's her name? Why can't I remember right now?
What's the movie?
Raw. No. Not Raw, although
Julia
I love
DeCornell.
Yeah, no, Revenge is what I meant to say.
Oh, you know what's funny is I had the same problem the other day. I forgot who I was talking to.
Those single word
I kept wanting to say Issa Lopez, who directed Tigers Are Not Afraid, and that was like wrong. It's so funny. I was doing this exact same thing the other day, and it was driving me off my mind.
And it's also a French filmmaker, right? Which is where my brain keeps going.
It's also like the quick Google always lands me on the damn Revenge TV show. Coralie Farge.
Thank you. Yes.
That'd be a good pick.
I like her use of color, and she has no fear of blood.
Yes, that is for sure.
And
None at all.
She stages a tightly edited action sequence or chase, and I find all those would be useful there. Although, she's only made one movie, so we don't really know how she would do with the more surreal aspects. But
that's a movie that's so good, though, that if you only have one movie to back you up, I'd be okay with that in this case.
That's true. That's a really good one.
Or maybe even Issa Lopez too, though, with Tigers Are Not Afraid, because that has a fantastical quality to it, and I think she executes that very, very well. And I wouldn't say there's all that much humor in it, but the kids do have like a couple little light moments between them.
And there's no, there doesn't have to be humor there just should be, in my opinion.
Who directed The Platform?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys are going to be stoked when the platform comes out, because we won't shut up about it.
Yeah, I'm never going to pronounce his name right. Galder Gotstelu Urusha.
Ooh.
I tried.
Sorry.
I tried.
Individual.
I know.
We do our best with our petty American
that took me
tongues.
Like a full minute to try to say that.
We are not trained in the more elegant sounding
I want to learn how to
languages.
say your name so bad. But the director of The Platform, I think, could be another
choice.
individual who helmed a recently not recently released, but recently viewed success. There was someone else that just came to mind, and I'm losing them right now. Another director who directed something fair. Oh my God, I know what I'm thinking of. Jason Lee Howden, Deathgasm and Guns Akimbo.
Huh. I haven't seen Guns Akimbo, but that's interesting.
I think he'd be a good fit too. I mean, not that like Deathgasm is satanic, but there's no like specific line I would draw from his past work to Freddy's abilities, but I think he's just like such a visual director, and he makes such bold choices that his style could very well suit that franchise.
That's interesting. For me, I don't know. Like, the more directors we pick, the more I'm like, yeah, I could see it working like a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
I think that for me, maybe it might come down to more the script more than anything.
And can I ask you, from a script perspective, what would you be rooting for? Like a straightforward remake or something? Do you need something different in the lore to freshen it up? Because I was not a fan of that 2010 version.
I rarely say this, but I hate that movie.
Yeah.
That's the exact opposite of what I'd want to see. I would want to see, that's more of a filmmaking note, but I'd want to see color. I'd want to see, I don't think we need to dive into making Freddy despicable. He works best when he is despicable, but he is also sort of likable. Like, you have to want to spend your time with him to get, however, what do we have, 9 of them now?
There's a lot.
That doesn't really work if you hate that person so much as I did this new take on him in the last remake. It's a movie that I feel gross watching, and I don't want to be a part of. So not that.
Yeah.
I think that why that franchise was so successful, and when it was its most successful, is because it was very fun and imaginative and fantasy fueled. I would like to see that, and it makes a
Guillermo. Sorry, those words made me think of him.
I mean, sure, I'll watch Guillermo do anything. I'm not sure that's the best use of his time, but sure. I'd rather see him make original stories, I think.
I think I'm in that boat right now.
I do want to see them embrace the potential of the human mind at rest, because that's sort of the trippy quality that makes the first. And for me, it's the first and the third, and then to a lesser degree, the fifth one that are like extremely functional and really, really delicious. And those two that I love the most are deeply rooted in how gross and silly and horrifying things can be inside your mind. Like I always think of the puppeting scene with the tendons. That's all of those things at once, right?
Yeah. That scene is great.
That's what I want to see. and not too serious. I think that was a big mistake.
Oh yeah. Definitely not. I mean, if you take that quality out of it, you remove one of its most distinctive qualities.
Yeah.
And that would be a shame. Here's a good segue and another recommendation for a director, Radio Silence.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That was pretty much the tone is good.
Yeah. The tone is a match.
Yeah.
So I wholeheartedly am behind that recommendation, but why I brought them up just now is because the other thing we have to tell you about is, the crossbow video I did with Christian Brune from Ready or Not, which you can watch on the Collider Video YouTube channel, and you can also watch it on Collider.com. And I think that might have been one of the most fun shoots I participated in all year. One, because Christian Brune is a delight, and because two, you know how I love like weird activities like that. Learning to shoot a crossbow was such a freaking thrill. And now that I have a baby crossbow in my earthquake survival kit, I know you're my doubter, but I'm fairly certain that if the zombie apocalypse happened, I would have my earthquake survival kit with the baby crossbow in it. I would have Dewey's kit with Dewey in it on my back, and we would just like go out in the Mini Cooper, and I think I could make it across to my family on the East Coast.
I love the optimism.
Yeah.
So I've said what I need to say about this delusion.
The crossbow doesn't change my chances at all.
No, you're not going to freaking shoot somebody, Perri.
No, I probably won't.
You're done. You are done. You have no chance in an apocalypse. You're way too nice. I'm sorry. And if you're trying to make it across all of America, do you know how big how many bad people are between you and New York?
How many like gas stops I would need for the mini super like teeny tiny tank.
I'm not a downer. I just think you're a good person.
Not to get off track here, but that's another thing that I wish a zombie movie out there would dig into a little more than past ones have. And I know some of them have scratched the surface of this, but that moment of it happening and just that internal struggle of, trying to fully understand if that person is that person or if they're completely gone.
Oh, the zombie.
Yeah. I feel like very few movies out there have dug into that darkness. Actually, probably one of the most recent examples I could find of that is the Arnold Schwarzenegger, Abigail Breslin movie. Like that's probably one of the, the more serious explorations of the turning process and what that means for a loved one.
What about similar, different, but that's kind of we're in this emo zombie movie phase, but
we are.
Like The Girl with All the Gifts. Yeah. Some of that.
No, it does. God, that really came and went.
Yeah.
That was so hot when it premiered. I thought it was so good, and then no one saw it.
I know, and I do like it.
It is good.
I don't think that these emotionally driven zombie movies have quite the same primal appeal that just classic zombie movies do. So they're not gonna like reach quite the same.
Which is why the wish fulfillment angle of like me in a Mini Cooper with a cat and a crossbow is very appealing. But I do have some crossbow skills apparently because we did a little one-on-one challenge and I wasn't half bad in it. But the reason we did this video is because Ready or Not is available to own digitally on November 26th, and it's also going to be available on Blu-ray and DVD on December 3rd. And, I can't recommend the movie enough. It's hands down one of the best horror movies of 2019. It is such a blast. If that is your horror vibe, you will not be disappointed by this movie. Everyone in it is great. They assembled a great ensemble, but you also need to get on the Samara Weaving train right now because as though she isn't already becoming a familiar name, she is going to blow up in the very near future. She's going to be huge, and she is a great lead in this movie, and I can't recommend it enough.
Do you think she's going to end up in Star Wars, Marvel, or DC? Because she's going somewhere.
It's a good question. And I like making bets on things. I'm veering away from Star Wars right now because the future of the films is a little uncertain.
Yeah, but it's popping off on Disney Plus.
It's popping off on Disney Plus, but anything that they have announced for Disney Plus is bringing back familiar characters.
Very true. Good point.
So I feel like that closes more doors than it opens.
Yeah.
I feel like she would be best. Maybe this is just because, like, I feel. All right, this is never going to happen. We'll get another Harley Quinn or Birds of Prey movie. And does Harley Quinn have a sister? Because I feel like her and Margot Robbie would be too good together.
That's very funny.
Wait until you see her in Guns Akimbo. I think that is only going to reinforce like the value of that statement. She's so good.
She would be a good fit for that kind of wacky energy that they seem to be trying to go into. I don't believe that Harley Quinn has a sister. Unfortunately.
See, that's the thing. When I think of Marvel, I think of, like more traditional heroes. And I feel like that would take away some of her best skills.
I could see her really nailing the Marvel tone because she's really good at comedic delivery, and she's I imagine would look fucking spectacular in a super suit.
I feel like she needs to be with the Guardians, though. If she comes in any capacity.
Yeah.
She would fit in that group.
I guess the takeaway here is she can do anything.
Yeah.
And would be a great fit.
No, I'm very
really
convinced she could do
actress.
I'm very convinced she can do anything, but I've seen certain qualities in her that I want to see more of.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm just like shoehorning her into roles that I already know I love her in. Which maybe is how people get boxed into things in Hollywood. Sorry about that.
Typecasting.
Damn.
Yeah.
It always comes back to get ya.
I don't know. I look at something like The Babysitter, and that to me has a very cheeky, kind of fun, light tone I could see that being like her audition tape for the MCU, basically.
All right. I would get behind that.
Obviously, there'd be less violence, but her performance would fit right in.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more. All right, do we want to move on to our review of the episode?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, guys. Servant. So I think maybe I should... Here, I'll just read you the one-sentence synopsis on IMDb. I'm so scared of spoiling anything on this show. A young and troubled couple replaces their newborn baby with a lifelike doll after their child dies from health complications. I was almost on the verge of laughing. That's a terrible sentence. But so why I'm on the verge of laughing is because I watched my screeners for this knowing next to nothing about what this was about. Yeah. I think I had seen one of those like teeny tiny teasers and hadn't really thought about it all that much. And there's, all right, light spoiler for episode 1, but it goes into this. So there's one scene in episode 1 where you don't get a full view of the baby, and Toby Kebbell's character picks up the baby and its head hits the side of the crib. I had a reaction to that. And then all of a sudden I realized what was happening. But that was probably one of the most audible reactions Dewey has witnessed me having in the apartment. So that was a thing.
I was like, what did I not get here?
I was just like, what?
Yeah.
But I've watched 3 episodes thus far. I am very, very into it, and I highly recommend it.
Yeah, I watched all 10, and same. I think it's really good. I think it's Apple TV Plus that does not roll off the tongue.
I know.
I think it's their best show by far so far. I haven't watched every episode of For All Mankind, but I've seen almost everything they have, and that one is the one where I'm like, oh, you've got something really special here. Mm-hmm. Shyamalan directed, I think, 2 of them, and produces, if I'm not mistaken, but it's created and written by someone else, and I find that even more exciting than sort of the Shyamalan touch, because whoever this writer creator is, I'm not familiar with them.
Tony Bass-Gallup.
Right, I'm not familiar with their work.
Which syllable to put the emphasis on, but
I think that this pretty instantly, really within the first half-hour episode, you get a really strong sense of voice and vision, and the whole series takes place within or just outside of their apartment. It's very claustrophobic. It's very contained.
Oh, it is.
It's really. I'm quite impressed with this creator's immediate, like, the immediacy with which they have delivered their vision. It took me one episode to be like, I completely get this
It's
show.
a very quick hook.
Yes.
Very, very quick hook. And I just am fascinated by the relationship between Dorothy and Sean. I mean, you guys know how I feel about Toby Kebbell, and I think he is everything in the first 3 episodes. He's another one that, I don't know, I feel like he has been on the cusp of being not just a star, but a superstar. And I think he has the capabilities to get him there, but he's got to pick up the right projects to make that happen. And like, this could be one of them if word spreads about how good this is. I almost didn't recognize Lauren Ambrose. I mean, maybe
she's like
maybe it was
on
because
a
I
level, man.
just haven't seen her in a while, or I've never seen her play a role like that. But
I think it's that.
so I love the character of Dorothy because I find her so frustrating. There's something about, because usually in these types of scenarios where you've got a couple that's dealing with something that's wildly disturbing, it's like the couple has to band together in order to figure it out. And that's not exactly what's happening here. There's a lot of complications in that relationship. And I find that it often leaves me feeling like, I mean, constantly going, no, don't do that. Like, why don't you think this? Why don't you think that? Why aren't you two working together on that? Like, and that almost is, even though it's very frustrating, it's keeping me on my toes and engaged to a certain level that is wildly effective and engrossing.
I mean, I see what you mean about like a plot structure, but in general, my understanding is that if a married couple loses their child, they're probably going to get divorced. Traditionally, I think the numbers point to that happening, because how do you save that relationship? So I find this approach much more interesting, which is they clearly can't really stand each other, but they're still trying to be married and make this thing. And she's on a level. Lauren Ambrose is unbelievable in this show.
She's so good.
I think Toby Kebbell is very good. I think that what is asked of him is a bit less. She has to really thread. It's hard. Like, I'm not going to spoil anything, but like she has to thread a very small needle of this woman's mental journey after the loss of her child. And she is frustrating. They're all frustrating. No one in this show's like a good person necessarily. They're all kind of dicks, which I like.
Tony Revolori's kind of nice.
Oh yeah, he's all right. Yeah, okay. He plays a supporting role, and he's not a huge dick, but most of them are. And she's just really compelling. She's like, she's a whole energy. She makes me want to go to therapy.
The role looks exhausting to me.
Oh,
it's
my God,
It's
yes.
like, that's a character that's at a 10, if not an 11, no matter what she's doing. She feels...
I feel like she's at a theoretical number.
Yeah.
Like the number doesn't even exist.
I mean, I think it's true. I think whether you're talking about, the first episode and some of the struggles they're going through later on as things change and you realize certain things that are happening. But even when they cut, I love that they cut to clips of her working.
Yeah.
Like, something about that I find really interesting. And when they decide to do it in the type, because she's a broadcast news reporter, and the types of stories they have her covering. And even when she's in those scenes, I still feel like then she's just like working woman 11,
Yeah. I remember very specifically the first cut to her working. I'm like, that woman's insane.
Yeah.
She's about to lose it completely. And that's kind of the line she has to walk this whole show.
I will tell you that when I go home for the holidays, and usually when my family gets together for a holiday, we do binge a show. I am going to highly recommend that my family watches the first 3 episodes of this. And I would like to put money on it that my mother continues with it and winds up loving this.
I hope that you're right, because this is what, like I told you, like my big talking point about the show and what makes me really mad is that, first of all, it's on Apple TV Plus. That kind of sucks because nobody's going to see it. Like, people who have that are just people who bought iPhones. Like, nobody, I mean,
my mom has it for a morning show. She wanted to watch that.
Okay, that's cool. That's a scene. I don't hate it.
So I've heard.
It's interesting. That's cool. I'm glad to hear that, because I don't know a single person in my life outside of work who would even know what Apple TV Plus is, except for my best friend's husband who works for Apple. And this show in particular, Apple TV Plus is committed to this weekly rollout, which I think maybe for the morning show, that's a good fit, right? That's kind of a soap opera. It's a really high production value A-list soap opera, and it works. Like you can sort of feed off the hour of juicy drama in that show for a week, and then just easily come back into it and not have forgotten any mythology or anything important like that. With this show, I think it's, first of all, it sucks you in so quickly that all you want to do is keep watching.
Just keep pressing next.
And it's a half hour, which is not as much to go on week to week when you're dealing with the show that is essentially mystery based.
Yeah.
Is in just about the heaviest trauma you could imagine. Like, to ask people to return to that every week for 30 minutes I think that's a tough sell and a mistake.
I understand why you would choose, week to week in some senses, but this show to me feels built for the binge watch. It's
absolutely,
they're two completely different shows, but the urgency for me to get to the next episode for some reason reminds me a little bit about how I felt while watching Russian Doll. It's like Russian Doll was formatted for binge watch. It's like that next vibe. And like, I feel like this is giving me a very similar feeling.
I agree. I mean, and because they are a half hour, like I watched it pretty much like a movie, like a long movie.
And I think it's also like, even thinking about spreading the word, I think that would suit this show better because, and this could be the fact that we exist in the bubble where my mind is going right now, but I'm also envisioning, like, what if it dropped all at once and then, you had all these wacky headlines, like explainer headlines. And then all of a sudden, like, someone sees a crazy headline and they're like, what is this talking? Oh, I have to watch a show before I read this article about what that is. I feel like that would create more urgency to see the show and then maybe get yourself some Apple TV Plus. So I don't know. I just think it would have been in their best interest to release it all at once, but
I agree.
That's not what's happening.
Hugely agree. And I hope that it succeeds regardless. Here's the thing about Apple. They don't care. They made this platform essentially for the customers they already have and to become content creators as well as content providers. They've already ordered a second season of it and they have no idea how it's going to perform. They don't care. They're approaching this very differently than something like Netflix is at their stage in the sort of evolution of a streaming service.
Yeah. Well, I can guarantee you I'm going to finish it.
That's good news for us, though, because that means we're getting season 2 regardless if no one watches it.
That's true. I promise you I will finish it. And when the time comes, we should do a full-blown spoiler review because I have a good feeling I'll be obsessed with it.
I would be eager to discuss the sort of ending and final episode with you because I've talked to one other person about it and we both had a very similar reaction, which was like, oh, I don't dislike that. But I'm not 100% sold either.
Okay.
So I'd be curious to hear your thoughts.
Interesting. Just briefly, because I do want to ask, I want to know if my interpretations and certain things, like what you think about them. So I'm going to put up the spoiler warning right now for episodes.
Oh, quick, before
yes, please.
Before the spoiler warning, Rupert Grint is also delightful in this show.
He's so good.
I've never seen him play a character like this. His American accent is like good, but so much, but also really good.
I feel like sometimes when some folks lose their accent, their voice changes entirely. Like it doesn't sound like them anymore.
Not at all.
And that's the case with him.
Maybe that's why I keep going, is this a good or bad accent?
It's like a little bit like a mind fuck and I'm loving it.
It's so weird, but I didn't want to let the non-spoiler people not know that because especially if you're a Harry Potter diehard like myself, it's really a trip and a treat to see him play this role.
And like accent or no accent, like he is quite good in the show.
He is. And like I said, everyone on the show is kind of a lovable dick and that includes him.
All right. Time has come. Spoiler warning for episodes 1 through 3 of Servant. I keep calling it The Servant. And whenever I look up information, I keep looking up The Servant, which is something else, but Servant.
Drop
Servant.
It's cleaner.
So like I don't know what to make of it. Like it's incredible how many possibilities are swirling in my mind in regards to like what Leanne could be, but like not even what she could be, but what her intentions are. Because I'm at the point where they're talking about, is she trying to blackmail them?
Right.
Is it like, I'm thinking maybe just, like a Rosemary's Baby vibe? Is she trying to use their sorrow and the fake baby in a way to like spawn the devil's baby or something. It's just, and it's like that, you know what? So not that much keeps me awake at night. One of the things that freaks me out the most are like creepy little things that hang. So it's like the thing above the crib that's clearly conjuring something, or even like the symbols in the woods in Blair Witch.
I was
like,
just going to say Blair Witch did that to you.
Me out. I'll never forget. Did you get this package for The Following a million years ago where they sent like a creepy like wood configuration with like this like a ball of twine in the middle, or there's some shit like that, because I got it in the mail and I opened it up because I was living on Long Island at the time. My mom was with me, and she's like, did someone send you a package of anthraxes? We should put that in the tray. Like, she didn't want it in the house. It was so eerie looking.
That's hilarious. I do remember at the Comic-Con where they gave out the Edgar Allan Poe mask from The Following, and it was just a horrific city to walk around after that. I think I got one of those too,
but there was some like creepy like twig thing I got at some point. But yeah, I'm still very much in the stages of just trying to figure it out. I've seen the part where Rupert Grint and the PI go to her burnt down home, and we come to learn that the whole family perished in the fire. But like, I don't know, like, I'm assuming what happened is Leanne didn't come back from the dead. I'm assuming she is some sort of, like, she was in a crazy state and she killed her parents, and now she's on to terrorize something else. Like, I'm assuming some sort of, like a satanic cult kind of thing got to her. She sacrificed them, and now she's on to the next stage.
I will say that what I like about the show is that it doesn't make any answer obvious. And like I said, the person I've discussed, we both got to the end and we were like, okay, maybe I need to sit on that.
Yeah.
But it didn't feel like it came out of left field. And I also don't feel that I ever fully had a read on what was going on fully. You definitely like start to put it together, but it does a good job. What I'm trying to say ineloquently is that, it does a really good job of building continual mystery and delivering a satisfying conclusion that doesn't feel like it came out of nowhere just to surprise you.
Okay. I think that's exactly what I would want in a show like this. Yeah. Okay. The splinter thing is flipping me the fuck out because I don't like splinters.
Oh, I love that. Okay. No, who likes splinters? They're shit. But that's such an effective mechanism.
It really is.
I really like that episode. Gosh, this shows such a journey in these short episodes that I forgot about the splinters.
There's certain things that are very clever.
I found the eels very disturbing.
The eel thing. And it's like, I don't even know what to make of the eel thing, because I feel like that represents a bigger arc for Leanne than what I fully realized. Because it's just like she clearly has a reaction to seeing the eel being killed and cooked, and it's like what happens in her mind to change her tune. Right. And it's like also thinking about, going down my line of thought, if she did kill her parents and now she's on to, wreak havoc on another family, like, why the sensitivity towards killing an eel? Mm-hmm. I don't know.
To be fair, it is. I had no idea that's how you do that, and it is one of the more
awful,
disturbing things I've ever seen. I'll probably never order eel again.
I've never ordered eel to begin with, but
delicious.
I can guarantee you I will never order it from now on. That is extremely alarming.
That was horrifying, and I really appreciate that about this show. Obviously it's not a cannibal show, but I do think it taps into sort of the cruelty, the decadent cruelty of cuisine in the best way anyone has since Hannibal.
And also there's so much wine. So it's like you bring up Hannibal and I'm like, yeah, no, this does make sense. There is something about, like, 'cause he's a chef.
Yeah.
And also the artistry that he brings to every single thing that he cooks, and also the way that they film the end product. There is something about that's all. Oh man, now you're making my mind spin out of control a little bit in terms of like, how do I add some sort of eating, like a horror version of eating into my theory scenario?
Oh, interesting.
Like, is someone ingesting something to produce something evil in some capacity? Because I mean, at one point the splinter is in him.
Yeah. I will say I have questions that maybe aren't entirely answered by the end, which is part of why I think both me and it was Allie from the .com I was discussing this with. Both of us were like,
did she finish all 10 episodes? Because I will be slacking her the second I finish.
Yes, she did. And we both really, really liked it a lot. And, but we both on the ending were like I said, not angry, not underwhelmed, just like processing.
Okay.
And I do think part of that response is that I definitely don't have all my questions answered, but I have enough to be like content. And I do want to revisit it now knowing those things and see if certain things make more sense now. Like the things you've asked about, like the eel, I still don't quite understand her reaction to that.
That's what's so exciting to me too about a 30-minute episode series too. It's like, you know, not to say that I don't like hour-long TV viewing. I freaking love it, but just from the perspective of we have so much content in our lives right now that it really excites me that I get to watch all of Servant right now. And then I also like the fact that all the questions aren't answered because that does tee up a second season, which you need to do. Yeah. So then when season 2 comes out, it's not a daunting chore to rewatch the entirety of it to get myself all psyched for season 2. I don't know. It's just in the day and age we live in right now, where there's not enough hours in the day, something makes me feel closer to the show to have that kind of accessibility and the ability to rewatch before I go on.
I get that.
Yeah,
I'm a big rewatcher, rereader. I find that art that you love, I hate calling it content, only grows richer the more you partake of it and interact with it. And so I feel what you're saying very deeply, because being overwhelmed with content has sort of often robbed me of one of my favorite aspects of enjoying it. Like I don't have the time to sit there and fully pay attention and rewatch the way that I watched the first time around, but I have seen Watchmen, the first 6 episodes I've seen each 4 times.
Oh boy.
And 7 and 8 I've both seen twice. Now again, I'm only really truly watching that first time.
Yeah.
But I will put it on loop in the background so that I can notice new details.
It's a lot of Watchmen.
Well, it's like one of my favorite things that was ever created. Is if they fuck up that last episode, I will be devastated.
I'm gonna hope that doesn't happen for you. But that's another show that I hear the most wonderful things about. I've only watched episode 1, and I plan on doing the binge when it's done.
I binged it. I wish I hadn't. But that's your life to live.
Okay. Yeah.
It's really a lot to process.
I definitely have binge watch brain right now, where that is just the viewing style that I think I have been veering to lately.
I had to write the review. I definitely wish I had more time to absorb each piece. That's probably why I've rewatched it so much, is because there's so much in every single episode that when you watch them all straight through, you're invariably missing a lot. Okay. But I love that show probably more than anything else this year.
Well, I'll get there eventually, and we'll discuss that in addition to the complete season 1 of Servant. That's all we have time for today. And I feel like you guys, it's Thanksgiving today, right? Go celebrate with your families.
Why are you listening to this?
No, you can listen. You can listen to this
because eat food.
Because we gave you a good suggestion to go watch some content with your family if they're above a certain age later tonight. Yeah. So enjoy that.
And if you're watching this on Saturday, I hope you had a really good Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I hope you did too. I hope you did some Black Friday shopping and got everything your heart desired. Haleigh, where can everybody find you on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter at Haleigh Fouch and on Instagram at Haystack McGroovy.
And I am on Twitter and Instagram at Pete Nemiroff.
Again, real quick, if you are watching, listening, our new schedule has me so confused. If you are listening to this on Thursday, my full review of Servant will have just posted on the .com. So read that.
Go read that. Again, I hope you're all having a wonderful holiday. I hope you had a wonderful holiday, and more holidays are upon us. More holidays, another horror movie right around the corner.
Yeah.
But we can't talk about that now. That's the end of this episode. You have officially survived the witching hour.